Hi, ladies and gents. Welcome to CEO Meets. I'm Pip Wilkins, the CEO of the BFA, and I'm joined today by Peter from Metro Rod. So, Peter, my starting question always is, what do you do? What do Metro Rod do?
Well, first of all, Pip, thank you very much for inviting me to this interview. In answer to your question, what do Metro Rod do? We're a nationwide drainage business that delivers drainage and plumbing services to a wide range of clients across the UK, with over 450 active engineers on the ground operating in excess of 400 vans. So essentially, we keep Britain's drains flowing from clean water into wastewater out. That's what we do.
Fantastic. And you're not a new business to franchising. You've been around for a while. So when were you established, and how long have you been kind of in the franchising journey, if you like?
The business was established in 1983. I think we've been members of the BFA since 1997.
Wow.
So we've been involved in franchising for an awful long time. I've been personally with the business for about 19 years. So I've seen a lot of changes in that time. And my background actually was coming from a direct labour organisation. I'd had a previous career working for another, a similar business, but in direct labour. So it was a bit of a shock and a culture shock coming into franchising and seeing the difference of the two models.
Absolutely. And you said there, you've seen a lot of change in 19 years, probably no more so than the last 18 months, because none of us were prepared for COVID or a pandemic. So what's that been like for you, and the key challenges, I suppose?
Much like everybody else in the country, it's been difficult. First of all, during the pandemic period and coming out of it, we've been pretty successful. We were designated key workers, and we maintained services right the way through the pandemic. But I think what it illustrated to me is having the right relationship between franchisee and franchisor. Somebody rang me in March of last year and said, okay, we've got this pandemic, what do you think we should do? I said, well, let me refer to what I did in the last one, because effectively we were all making it up.
Yeah.
And the franchisees at that point, I think, really valued a franchisor that was on the front foot, had a plan, was communicating regularly and effectively, giving them the right guidance, pointing them in the right direction in terms of things like PPE, etc. And I think that really illustrated to me at that point in time where a franchisee and franchisor relationship could really work. And what we've managed to do is to carry that forward throughout the last 18 months as well. So, yeah, it's been difficult, but we learned an awful lot of lessons.
And for me, it's critical, isn't it? You hit the nail on the head. For me, the strengthening of relationships between franchisor and franchisee, and the strengthening of the franchise community as a whole, has what's made the last 18 months special. We've got some great stories of how people have overcome kind of challenges, how they've had to diversify and support a network, which is no easy journey, because everyone has their own unique way of dealing with things, right?
They do, and obviously, right at the start of the first lockdown in spring of last year, the levels of anxiety were huge. People didn't know if the business was going to survive, what was going to happen in the broader economy, how they were going to pay staff, what the furlough scheme looked like, how they could access loans. And all of those things, when you've got, as we have in Metro Rod, a support centre with all of that expertise in place, from finance expertise to HR expertise, actually, you can start and provide the level of guidance and advice that franchisees may not get if they were just independent traders. So that was really important to us, and reducing that level of anxiety was the first thing we had to do. Then getting a stable base, then understanding what the business might look like over the next 3 to 6 months, positioning our business so we could manage that, and then obviously doing things like going working remotely. I'm sat in a building that should have 120 people in it. I think today there are 4 in, and making sure you've got the technology in place to support the business, and more importantly, support the customers who need your services during a period, unprecedented period like the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your franchisees for a moment. What are the kind of key attributes? What are the things that make your franchisees special? And what do you look for, I guess, when you're wanting to bring someone new into the network? What have they got to have?
If there was one word that or one phrase that I would use, it would be the right attitude. All of the things that we can do, we can train technical, we can train process. We've got manuals and directions coming out of our ears. What you really need is someone with the right attitude that's prepared to get involved, work hard, and benefit from the fruits of their labour. And we've got a mix of franchisees. We've got franchisees who are business people that we're used to running big teams, through to drainage engineers that have come through from being on a van, adopting and taking a business forward. And both are equally successful. They just need different levels of guidance and support from us at the support centre. But very simply, the right attitude.
Fantastic. So I have one final question. I ask everybody the same thing. It's if somebody is looking to invest in a franchise and you can give them one top tip, what would that top tip be?
I'm going to resist the temptation of saying I can give you three. I would very simply say, don't buy a job. You know, if you want a job, go and get employed. If you want to make a life for yourself, you want to make a career, you want to benefit from the fruits of your own labour, then look at franchising.
Fantastic. Peter, thank you so much for your time today. It's been really awesome talking to you.
No problem. Thanks for inviting me, Pip.